What's good, y'all? You know, this rain ain't gonna stop nothing. So, don't really worry about it, family. But, you know, for the chosen ones, y'all, I hope all is going good for y'all. Just because it's raining doesn't mean you can't come outside and get your energy, man. You need to get that fresh daily dose of it. And you need to protect your energy as well, family. Rock as much as elements as you can because your energy is sacred, man. It's all you have to your name. People, they define everything off of materialism, right? They barely even protect their fucking energy, y'all, because they care about what they have that they own. People are so quick to share what they own and not who they are. And that's why you're never fully attractive, because you think you could win somebody over with what you got. You gotta have a spirit of light, man, because whether you are light or not, y'all, you're gonna stay true to yourself. If you are a light, family, everybody's not gonna want to be around you, man, because they can't get into your presence. Think about it. You are like a person that has just got out of jail, right? And these motherfuckers, they can't get out like you because they locked in. They need a key. They need some type of energy to set them free. You're their biggest hope. That's why they love to be around you, family. But once you wear your protection and once you speak positivity over yourself, you realize you are protected, family. You don't need nothing. The only thing they want you to do is feel like you do. So you give the enemy your power, family. I'm gonna always remind y'all that your power is gonna always stay within. So you gotta rely on your inner strength, y'all. Your inner strength is gonna help you determine what you get in the outside of your reality. Don't take your external reality too serious, family, because you're living day to day around fucking bots, y'all. People who aren't taking this life shit seriously because they're just living. They're just existing, y'all. But if you're existing without having a job to fulfill, you're a fucking zombie. You're not really meant to be here, y'all, because you're just waste at that point. So it is crucial out here, y'all, to clean up this land. And you clean up the land by literally speaking peace over yourself, family, because in this world, y'all, we're of the 144, y'all. You're a chosen one, and that's what you feel. What's right, y'all. People tell you something and it don't seem right with you. You're not gonna fuck with it, family. So that's why I remind y'all, take your power back, family. Because they gonna watch you and they gonna see what's good, y'all. I want to talk about a timeline, a future timeline, y'all. I'm not gonna speak about what's to come, but I'm gonna speak on what's going to happen as we are currently in 2026, y'all. You don't gotta watch the news and you don't have to be on the internet. You already know what's going on, y'all. You see wars going on. You see people dying and shit every day. It's getting worse and worse and worse out here, right, family? But I'm here to remind you, chosen one, that that's gotta happen because it's worse. It's hell out here, right? So in order to create peace in a world like this, y'all, it's gonna get more wicked before it can eventually start shining. You're the light bulb, so you're needed in this war, family. The war is to bring heaven back on earth, but you can't create a peaceful environment, y'all, if you're surrounded by fucking beings that want you to act malevolent. So the best thing you can do, family, is to protect your energy. You gotta be real serious about that, because when you was vibrating low, y'all, ain't nobody give a fuck about you. You was living in hell like everybody else, but you still had the Most High with you. So that faith, it eventually showed you who and what you became, right? So now that you're here with this power and a sense of clarity because you know who you are, you don't want to give it up, because you feel truly protected, y'all. That energy makes you feel safe within because you have something to live for. Once you hold your energy in, y'all, that's the most vital thing for your body, because now you are truly nourishing yourself, you know. For the people who are still stuck on that physical dimension, y'all, they can't see life like you because all they see is another person's body, because all they are living through is their fucking flesh, you know. They take it one day at a time. They feed their flesh, they fall into shit that's physical, and they repeat their cycle. You know, they ain't thinking outside the box, and they ain't thinking nowhere near trying to get out of that, because no idea has hit their brain to make them feel like why they feel like they gotta, you know. So if you're around people who are asleep, or if you are woken but you're in an environment where there's no motherfuckers thinking like you, they ain't gonna wake up, you know. And that's because they weren't chosen in this lifetime to participate in, you know, what you are down here to literally show the masses, y'all, you know. But let me talk about what's going on right now, y'all. These wars, right, are just these, you know, entertainments. You know, you see a lot of people, you know, fighting. You see a lot of rappers, you know, singing and shit. But you also see a lot of motherfuckers, you know, acting like they killing. But that's all AI, y'all. You know, AI is, you know, saturated. But AI was created, y'all, to make the chosen ones feel like they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Because if they have AI at their hands, well then they can throw something in your face to create an illusion to make you feel like you on their side. That's literally the whole point of the media, to grab your attention away from the chosen one, because the chosen one, literally the tongue is powerful. So just what the chosen one is going to say, y'all, you're going to feel that, and you're going to, you know, feel a sense of impact, because you're already seeing what the fuck is going on out here, y'all. You already lived the tale. Now you're just trying to give it out, you know. So be mindful, family. And you know, when you walk outside, y'all, be expected to have people, you know, try to, you know, ask you questions, or you gonna have people in your way. You know, if you go to the mall, that bitch gonna be hella packed. You know, you might not even be able to find a parking spot because of how much motherfuckers are just attracted to your light, y'all. It's not a physical thing, but it's a subconscious act. You know, it's just like when women, they pick up on your power, so they can't stop looking at you, but they're not gonna talk to you. But they feel your presence, y'all, and they feel deeply, you know, magnetized by it. And that's how powerful you really are. You know, but for those physical beings, y'all, I'm just here to remind you that you gotta get right with yourself, man. You gotta rise your frequency up, and you gotta start living in spirit, man. Because spirit's the only thing that's gonna get you out this hell, you know. If you are living in hell, y'all, well, you ain't gonna be able to take the sun forever, because you're on that physical dimension, you know. Anything physical can't take too much light, because flesh is the slowest vibration to exist, y'all. And if you don't get this concept, well, you will never get it, you know, family. But if you are a chosen one, you are also needed in this war, family. So keep speaking your truth. Keep reminding everybody why they matter, man. You know, the attacks are only to remind you that you have what you say you have, which is that power. You know? So thank the Most High that He chose you, because He's seen your lifestyle. He maybe seen the traumas you went through. You know, for myself, y'all, someone who questioned their reality, someone who was thinking too deep, someone who just wanted, you know, not an awakening, but an answer. You know, I was looking for guidance, and I didn't get that guidance, y'all, until I realized that I needed to respect my being, you know. And that's where it started, you know. Once I started respecting myself, and once I was showed to go within myself, I realized I don't gotta talk to nobody. I don't need to ask nobody nothing, because the answers lie within, dormant, you know. You just gotta call out on it. You know, if you're, you know, looking for shit in a book, or you're relying on people for context clues and shit like that, you're gonna forever stay lost, yeah. Because what you gonna do when they ain't here? What you gonna do when it's yourself? When you are alone, you're gonna crumble, you know. So that's why it is important to know the realm. But to know the realm, y'all, is to know yourself. And you know yourself, you're protecting everything God has given you. You know, God didn't give you money, y'all, because you're not rich. And that, you know, you're not rich in material, because You came down here to experience this life, you know. You were given abundance and light and unlimited energy and unlimited potential. You know, you can't get nothing without having potential, y'all. But you were given that potential. You just don't know how to activate it. So you're not gonna feel like it's something that you can have, you know. But if you pay attention, y'all, I'm pretty sure y'all seen what was going on with Jim Carrey, you know. All that shit is a hoax, man. You know, all these clones and shit that they are showing y'all, they want your attention because that's energy that they can drain from you, y'all. You should ask yourself a simple question like, why the fuck are they going to war, but we are still partaking in things that we gotta do in our daily life? Exactly, because if there was wars, nobody would be doing shit, y'all. Everybody would be too scared. That's not real, y'all. It's like a movie that you are believing in, you know? And if you believe in that shit, it will happen. But really, y'all, they're warring with us. They're warring with us because they're trying to create, if you want to say, false narratives, false realities to show y'all that the chosen ones ain't talking about nothing. Because if AI truly means that they can create or conjure up, you know, something that ain't real to make it seem like it is, well, they just played your brain. They just tricked you out your spot, y'all. And your brain is, you know, something that no one can ever be titled upon that, because I don't care what anyone says, y'all. No computer, no tablet, no device is, you know, more, if you want to say, advanced than your mind. They can't hack your mind, y'all. They can take your brain, but they don't know what the fuck is in your mind because they can't hack it, you know. That's powerful, man. That's why you gotta protect your mind. You know, if you don't protect your mind, y'all, you fall for anything outside of you. And that's how they get you out of your body and they end up killing y'all and shit, y'all. You know, everybody wants to live. Nobody wants to die. But you're not fully acting like that, y'all. If you're not trying to protect your body day by day, because we are living in this fucking simulation, you know? I could talk for hours about this shit because it matters, y'all. It's relevant. It goes on day to day in our society, y'all. Everybody sees this world for what it is, but you can't put a word on it because you just can't figure out why the fuck it is the way it is, you know? You might be woke as fuck right now. You might be tapped in, but you might be around people who don't know what the fuck's going on. So it makes it harder for you to live because now you gotta protect your energy. Now you don't want to talk about things that don't serve you. Now you just want to better up the reality around you. And that's only gonna happen, y'all, when you truly isolate yourself and know that I gotta do this shit for myself because ain't nobody gonna believe in what I'm talking about, y'all. You know, because they don't even have light yet. You know, the only person that I can say fully will back me up on this shit is a chosen one or the sun itself, y'all, because it shines. You can't look at the sun forever, y'all, if you vibe low. And if you vibing low, you damn for sure can't even look at someone like myself because it blinds you, man. Those demons, they, you know, we see right through you. And once you realize this shit, man, it's a dirty game, y'all. It's a real dirty game. But that's what I say, family. You gotta rock your protection out here. You gotta call your power back. And you gotta shine, y'all. You gotta shine like the star you is, man, because you are literally the star of hope for not humanity, but for literally your species. You know, you're not a species like everybody else, y'all. You're a chosen one, and you gotta protect that species right there, the black sheep of the family, because there ain't too many of us, y'all. There's probably a, you know, less than a good 200,000 of us, right? While there's fucking hundreds of millions of people on this world that are empty, soulless, gone, you know, tricked out their position. So yes, while you're worried about them wars and shit, you're up against the biggest war of your fucking life, y'all. Science, you know, frequency, you know, technology that is advanced, but you are more advanced than anything that is you know, that they want to say is technology, because you have the power to go anywhere you want on this realm by astral projecting, by astral traveling, by just, you know, seeing who you fully are, y'all, which is light, which is what really controls your vessel. That energy. That energy is ethereal, man. It comes from source, y'all. That's why these demons want to take it away from you. But that was a video, family. You know, I didn't want to come on here and make a long video, but I wanted to tell you that all this shit that's going on right now, y'all, be expected to see more shit come out, y'all. You know, don't feed into it, y'all, but just know that it's here to distract the ones that don't have consciousness. If you don't have a mind, y'all, you're not thinking about how you can better up your life. You're looking around at everybody else because you don't have no worth. You're not tied to your dignity. You don't have no dignity. So all you do is give your fucking energy away without you knowing. But I'll see y'all, family. Remember, chosen one, it's all up to you, you know? So make it count.